Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Hello again.
Hello there.
Yes. So, alright then. Are we all good today?
Yeah, we are. How about you?
That's good. I'm doing okay.
Okay.
Right. Right. Okay. I had something in my mind to start this off well, but now I've forgotten it, and so now it's not starting off well. Okay. It's in that case, then since I'm awkward, let's just get this going then.
Yep.
All right then. Anyways. I have the questions right here. I made sure to save the doc after the technical difficulties we had the first time.
Okay.
It's a little annoying that. Right then. Right. So here we go. So question 1 is, what is the name of your micronation?
The name is The Empire of Pavlov.
Okay. Alright. Question 2 here is, can you give us a brief history of your empire?
Yes, it was founded in 2012 by one of my friends from university and myself, in
Okay.
which we wanted to experiment with how absolute monarchy would work in the 21st century. And
Okay.
basically, that grew over a couple of months, I think 6 or 7 months. Then we tried to do some kind of union with Lost Islands, which didn't really work out. So between 2013 and 2014, we were sort of not very active.
Okay.
Then September 2014, we were revitalized. We started claiming the Antarctic territories again.
Okay.
By which time we also declared ourselves an empire, focused on a sort of a Rus culture, and also declared ourselves the Fourth Rome. In 2015, we focused mostly on micronational summits in the Russophone community in Moscow,
Okay.
which we held the biggest reunion of micronationalists in Moscow ever to date.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, it went a bit sour after that. We started focusing more on online micronationalism, which, well, was kind of a wrong choice. We had a lot of other micronationalists join us with their territories as sort of federal lands. In the end of 2015, begin 2016, there was a problem with one of the provinces named Dalyan, led by some guy named Pavle Savovich, in which he basically tried to use Pavlov as a way to start uprisings in other micronations. When we found out about this, we confronted him with the information, and he unilaterally seceded within a couple of days. And he tried to run a smear campaign in some micronationalist groups on Facebook. 2017, 2018, there were numerous revivals, but they were equally unsuccessful. And finally, 2019, we founded Montescano to try and enter micronationalism again, which actually was quite successful. And basically, from the first day of starting Montescano, I was approached by numerous former citizens of Pavlov who wanted to remake it Pavlovian, basically. And finally, after Yaroslav Mark published an opinion piece on the restoration of Pavlov, we restored the empire on the beginning of June of this year.
That's it's quite expansive actually. It sounds like Pavlov has been for quite a lot.
Well, yes, and not always equally successive, but I think in general, as a micronation, it is quite a good micronation. Successive also because, unlike many other micronations, even the more known ones, we do not tend to focus solely on the internet. We hold regular meetings with our citizens We issue identity cards, stamps, flags, desk flags, certificates of citizenship. I mean, it's not just a PDF. You're a citizen now, and that's it. You can, if you want, you can order all of those stuff. We are currently working also on issuing passports.
Well, it's good that you have some physical stuff going for Pavlov. Yeah, a lot of migrations do tend to. Yeah, I've seen that before. I used to do it myself. Right. So if I get the third question up, I believe. Yes, third question. Thank you for your answers there. Can you give us a description of the ideals of your empire?
Well, the ideals of Pavlov are basically quite socially conservative in terms of religion and social morals. We are officially a Christian country. We also have a small Muslim minority, but we tend to focus on Christian ideals and the culture of Rome, Eastern Rome, and also the culture of Rus, which is basically Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia.
Okay. So it's a lot of Slavic cultures, mostly, yeah.
Well, not exactly, because that's actually a common misconception. The Rus, actually, the rulers of Russia and Ukraine, they were not Slavs. They were Vikings. The people were Slavic, but the rulers were never Slavic. Well, at least originally, they were never Slavic. They came from the land of the Rus, which is supposedly somewhere in Sweden.
Never knew about Ukraine being from Vikings. That's quite fascinating. I'll have to have a look at that.
Well, I mean, again, not the general population, but the rulers were originally Vikings, and in fact, many of them have Norse inscriptions on their graves. For example, there is a guy named Vladimir the Great, who was actually Valdemar.
It's an entire new sort of history to Ukraine. I've not looked at. I have to have a look at this after the interview.
All right.
Quite interesting, this. So does Pavlov have any allies in the diplomacy region currently?
Well, we have actually two at the moment. The most historical one, I think, is Lost Island. We have a treaty of alliance with Lost Island, which basically means that it's very easy for citizens of Lost Island to become Pavlovian subjects and vice versa. We also have an agreement on the issuing of Pavlovian nobility in Lost Island. For example, Lost Icelandic civil servants can get noble titles of Pavlov based on their service in Lost Island. And we also, since a couple of days ago, have an association agreement with Brienia, which basically means that if the government of Brienia requests, we can intervene on behalf of the government. Well, very similar to how France and Monaco have an association agreement as well.
All right. So it sounds like you've got some good allies then.
Well, I mean, we have allies, and we also do sometimes sign treaties of mutual recognition and cooperation. But in general, we are quite isolationist because I do not believe that the main focus of micronationalism is signing treaties. I think that the main focus of micronationalism is internal policy, issuing physical memorabilia, and holding meetings with citizens, and not just signing 200 treaties with different micronations, because it doesn't gain your micronation anything.
Yeah, I agree with you that most treaties, they're just not helpful in the slightest. But I will say that some treaties are quite important. when it comes to like if it's something that's going to affect your micronation in the long run, then it's definitely worth considering, I'd say. But
Well,
I see where you're coming from.
but I mean, to be honest, then, except for two micronations being in a very close proximity of each other, or long-term friends, which can actually do something for each other as well. Um, it's not like some random micronation is going to really help Pavlov, or nor is Pavlov going to help some random micronation, which have nothing in common with us. That's why I don't believe in the value of treaties in general.
Hmm.
There are, of course, exceptions.
Yeah.
For
I had something to
example,
say about it as well.
yeah.
Yes, go
For
on.
example, there's also the Treaty of Theodosia signed between Carnia Rutinia, North American Confederacy, and Pavlov, which actually has a very good purpose: the defending of the claim to the imperial title, which is not some random treaty, just signed for deciding. It actually has a purpose. It has a goal. It has spheres of influence being granted to the member states of the treaty. And those treaties are, of course, variable, but just the 20th treaty in which micronation A recognizes micronation B, this is basically never valuable.
Hmm. Yeah, recognitions are, I will agree, they're not important really. It's mostly just like I would say it's just mostly a friends sort of thing.
Well, this,
To
and
show
also
that we agree with each other.
generating some news, and then when the agreement between the two friends will stop, then they will de-recognize the other state, which is, of course, totally impossible by international law.
Yep.
So much
I
for the
do
recognition.
understand though.
Yeah. All right.
Yes. So anyways, then our final question is related to your micro wiki page.
Okay.
It says that you claim to be the fourth Rome. Would you be able to explain on this a little bit further?
Yes, I will. Basically, the initial declaration of Pavlov being the fourth Rome had to do something with another person claiming the same, and we thought basically that there was no way that he could have a monopoly on this title, so we also claimed it. But actually, it seemed to be quite a good description of the micronation, because as was in the Roman Empire, when some Germanic or Gallic tribe was conquered by the Romans, the people of that tribe assumed a new identity, a Roman identity, which is actually quite close to Pavlov, because well, we have quite conservative laws, but amongst our citizens are gays, Christians, Muslims, pagans, and even atheists, and they all gladly support the laws of the empire. In fact, many of the senators at the moment, they're very well, they're very atheistic in their thought process. They are, in general, in macronational situations, they are libertarian. But for Pavlov, they are staunch Pavlovians. They support all of the laws, and even sometimes want to go further than myself in the conservativeness of the laws. So actually, they also assumed a new identity, a Pavlovian or Roman identity, which is leading inside Pavlov, and quite different from what they think macronationally. This is, of course, how it all started. After this, we assumed more late Roman titles, some laws, some culture, Christianity of the Orthodox kind. Well, basically, we are quite strong claimant to the Byzantine heritage, I think.
I was reading about that actually as we were speaking about it, ironically. So those were the all the questions on the list I have here.
Yeah.
But I have one more
Okay.
that I'd like to ask. What is not what is, sorry. What is so I'm sorry. I've noticed on the map here you have some like little dots highlighted in countries like Russia, Ukraine, and what looks to be in the cities of Bratislava and Istanbul.
Yes.
Are these the land claims of Pavlov?
Yes, and also one dot in the Netherlands actually. But those are indeed the land claims of Pavlov, yes, which
Hmm.
are all owned by either me or citizens who have been involved in Pavlov since minimum of 2015.
Hmm. Um,
I,
yes, go on.
yeah, well, I mean, in the past we had more claims. For example, we also had the ability of new people being able to join Pavlov with their land claims, but after we had an incident with another micronation, we deemed it better not to allow new members in general to have their lands claimed by the empire, because it will only cause conflict later on if the person in question does no longer want to affiliate himself with the empire and wants to leave it.
That's quite a good idea actually. To stop conflict from happening.
Well, yes, I mean, in the end of the day, if there are of course exceptions here, but micronationalists in general are quite individualist, and if they don't like something, they will leave it or do something different. And I think that's actually also the case in Pavlov. We actually had some different micronations join us in the past, even some a couple of times. And in the end, they were always leaving because they were never in agreement with us 100%. They had like 80% similar policies, but 20% different. And this was, this in the end always fueled some kind of secessionist conflict. After which we decided that in the current incarnation of Pavlov, it's better just not to seek that kind of conflict anymore. Just the lands that we own or is owned by a person who 100% agree with us. And in fact, we cannot even change the territory except by a constitutional amendment, which can only take place if 80% of the people agree with it.
Hmm. Well, it's good that in your empire democracy has a stand. That's quite good.
Well, it doesn't, to be honest.
Oh.
I mean, there are some instances where the people have a say, but in general, we are not. We don't believe in democracy. If someone wants democracy, then I will send him a link to another micronation. Because
Right.
in micronationalism, it simply doesn't work. There needs to be one dictator which decides the cause of the micronation, its mission, its goals, and the culture. Because if it ends to be a democracy, then there is 100 people and 100 opinions, and they're not the same at all. And then you only cause conflict. Because actually Pavlov is so firmly in my grip, it doesn't actually matter much if someone is African American, Chinese, or Arabic. They will all become Pavlovians upon joining, because that's the culture of the empire. And if they don't like it, well, then they can leave the empire also as well. I mean, a micronation in its purest form is mostly the mission statement of the founder, and if you don't like it, then don't try to change that mission statement. You can just make your own micronation.
All right. Well, I like the idea of that. In some ways. I see what you mean though. By if you were to have the 100 people, 100 different opinions, that would end up stirring up something in the long run.
I mean,
So I agree
yes,
there.
one of the people I used to work for a couple of years ago, he used to say, Everyone has an asshole. Because an asshole is like an opinion. Everyone has one,
Alright.
and they always smell.
Alright.
And I think
Then,
that's
yes, go on.
actually quite close to the idea of democracy, because everyone has an opinion about anything, and 90% of the time they do not actually know what they are talking about. But they still have that.
About that issue.
They
Yes, go
still
on.
have that. They still have that opinion, and they will not change it because it's their opinion, and they are quote unquote entitled to their opinion. So they have this opinion based on absolutely nothing, no facts at all, but they still have it, and you must still consider it. That's why it's better to claim that there is no democracy, because then at least nobody can complain after in the long run. They understand that if they join, that they just have to go with the flow or leave again.
Alright. Well, the final question I have is looking on your map. I've noticed you've got some countries that are technically speaking listed as disputed territories. And these would be countries such as Kosovo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Transnistria or Western Sahara.
Yes.
Do you recognize these countries?
At the moment, we actually do not recognize those countries, and I don't think at the moment there will be a change in the foreign policy regarding that. I don't think we will recognize them as sovereign states. However, this map is actually made in such a way that we show the de facto control over the globe. I mean, it would be quite silly to claim that the northeastern part of Moldavia, for example, is not under the control of Transnistria. It is obviously under the control of this Transnistria, which can control it without being a state, in all honesty. So we do recognize that it's owned by Transnistria, just we don't recognize that it's a sovereign country.
Okay.
I mean, I also don't recognize France, but I still recognize that France as an entity exists.
I'm sorry, go on.
I mean, yeah, what would I do with the map then if I don't recognize France, but it's still on the map, I mean, I can't erase it. That would be quite revisionist, I think.
Yes. Indeed. I'm so okay. You don't recognize France. I'm sorry. Would you be able to go into that a little bit further as well?
Yes. Because actually, we don't recognize the United Nations also. So I just recognize a couple of countries which are under a monarchical system, and France is a republic, as you know. So we didn't recognize it.
Oh, okay. So it's I would assume mainly if it's United Nations you don't recognize, it would be larger countries with more power. So I would say Germany, Britain or America, for example.
No, out of those countries you mentioned, only the UK is recognized.
Okay.
Basically, it's the UK, Spain, monarchies, Monaco, Andorra. What?
Hello? 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 Are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Hello? Yes, I can hear you. Hello?
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 Yes.
Oh dear.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, so what I was trying to say was actually that we recognize, for example, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, United Kingdom, A couple of the Commonwealth realms, which are also under the headship of the Queen. For example, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Some Arab nations also under the rule of a monarch. This is the main foreign policy, that we only recognize monarchies.
Oh, okay. So so you recognize the United Kingdom, but what about the countries inside of the United Kingdom? So like the Kingdom of England, the Principality of Wales, the Duchy, I think it is, of Scotland. Would you recognize those?
No, because
Or
they're territorial subdivisions. That's not. That's an internal affair of the sovereign state.
okay. All right. Well, that was all of the questions on the list I had are finished, and I can't think of no more myself. So I guess we are finished.
All right.
Right. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you
Right.
for having me also on this week, Brienia.
Yes.
All right then. Cheers.
Right. Goodbye.